So let me share my screen. Then we can start this session. So I hope you guys can see my screen. Maybe someone can type in chat or okay, thank you. So let's start. Oh, you guys can also see the slides. Okay. Yeah, let's start. So this is going to be a session on Flutter, and I'll begin with what Flutter is. So Flutter is a framework. It allows developers to create applications that run on different platforms, Android, iOS, web, Windows, etc. So what this means is that Flutter is basically a tool that us developers can use to make an app that you can run on your phone, can run on your computer, you can run on a website, something similar to YouTube. And that tool that we'll be learning about uses a programming language called Dart, which we'll see later on and when we do the demo. So why do we use Flutter? So I think this is best explained with a scenario. So imagine we've been hired somewhere and they want us to make an app that runs on both the web and Android. So I had an example over here. Let's say that we've been told to make this app. This is super basic, but let's say we're told to make something on both web and on Android, as you can see here. And let's say as we're making it, someone told us that they want to change, not to change maybe the title of the app, this thing over here. So now currently, this app of ours, even though it's the same app, we have it on two completely different sets of code. So I'd have to come and struggle thinking, oh, where has this first fragment been written at? You know, it's a tedious process. And if you're not familiar with the code base, maybe there are many teams that have written the same code or something, it can be super hard to find out that that title was written somewhere in one of these many files. So where Flutter comes in is that it allows us to, instead of having now very many different code bases, very many different sets of code for the same app, we just have one main piece of code that defines how our app looks. And that one piece of code will be able to run on Android, be able to run on web, be able to run on Windows, Linux. So for the same example that I showed you before, I wanted to change just that title, only change it in one place and not in two completely different places. So yeah, this is basically what this slide was trying to say. The same here. As you can see, you can define the interface. Interface just means how your app looks. Is from one code base, which means from one like set of code. Yeah, makes it easy to make your applications look the same. It's because you defined everything in one place. So it's normally easy for you to make your app look the same on different platforms. And, yeah, I think that's can continue to the next slide. So now that you know why we want to use Flutter, we just direct you to how to install it. So you can go to this link. Let me just share it in chat. So you can go here. So you can go there, and from there you'll be able to install. So let me also go to that link over here. It load. Yeah, this is where we install Flutter from. And if you're building from Windows, you click here. Building from Linux, you build here, etc., etc. So for me, I'm building on Windows, so I'd click Windows. The steps, each of the Flutter SDK. And one you've installed it called Flutter Doctor. So what you do, you'd go to the command prompt if you're on Windows, or terminal if you're on Linux, and you'd run Flutter Doctor. And what Flutter Doctor does, it just checks if what you've installed has been installed nicely. So assuming you've been able to install everything perfectly, things went well, your screen should look something similar to this. But we're all programmers, so things rarely go well the first time. Most likely we'd have some red lines over here, some X's. So in case that happens, you could run Flutter Doctor -v. -v just means give me more detail. And what this will do, it'll break down each part of what it's checking. And it will allow you to just, if you have an issue, you can dive deeper to whatever output it gives you. And you can go solve it. So this is what this slide was about, just showing how a nice Flutter Doctor -v would look like. Oh, and yeah, and after we've installed Flutter and seen that we've installed it nicely, would be writing the Flutter code using something like VS Code or Android Studio, whichever you prefer. So I hope so far everything's okay. If you have any questions, you can just ask. Yeah, take it that everything is okay, so you can just continue. So those are possible install issues. So if you have anything, maybe you can look here. But just to go through some super common ones, there's something called, maybe I'll show it here. This part you get a red. It tells you something like Android SDK not found. One thing you can do is you can install this app called Android Studio, and from here you can install what it's asking you to install, that Android SDK. So normally there are things for that online, but you just click there. You'd tick what needs to be installed here and you install. So that's just an example of sometimes what's a common issue you could get from installing Flutter. We listed some other common issues. So maybe if you've installed something has not worked, you can just look at this slide, these two slides. And also, if you want to build a Flutter app that's going to run on web, you need to install Chrome, because that's what Flutter uses when you're making the app. It uses Chrome to see what you're doing. So yeah, let's continue. So now we can finally create a Flutter project in VS Code. So how we do that is you'd click. The first thing you need to do is go to this extensions page, click there, search Flutter, click this, and then on your screen it will show install. Already installed it on my machine, that's why it looks like that. But you'd install this Flutter extension, and you'll also install this Dart extension. You'd also do the same on Android Studio. If you want to make apps with Flutter, you install the Flutter and the Dart extensions. These ones just give you nice highlighting, nice suggestions. So you're writing code. That's what these extensions do. So after you've installed the extensions, come to View, Command Palette, search Flutter, then you click this Flutter New Project. So you click on that, click the type of application you want, just click application on this case. You'd enter a location to store it. So you just choose a folder. Let me just choose any folder. You just choose this one. Then you give it a name. I suggest you give it a meaningful name, because this is just a demo. You can just call it Flutter demo, for instance. So now this process can take a while. Don't know if it will finish quickly or okay, finish pretty quickly. So yeah. So now what we have is like the skeleton of a Flutter app. Don't know if any questions so far. Okay, I assume we're all good. So let me go back. So you might see that there are very many files, very many folders in this app of ours, but you don't need to get scared, because the only part we'll only be dealing with this lib folder. So the only place we'll be touching. And if you're curious, these other folders, Android, iOS, Linux, whatever, they deal with the platform specific, like the code that's generated for that specific platform. But you'd only ever edit it in very few times we'd ever need to edit that code. So you don't need to be worried for that. So in our case, we'll only be looking at main.dat. So before we can get our hands dirty writing some code, there's some few things that we need to know about Flutter. So let me go back to my slides. So yeah, so Flutter uses this something called a widget. So you can think of a widget as maybe like a box, a box, like a part of what you see on your screen. So like maybe on my slides, if I made this with Flutter, this heading, how to make apps on Flutter, that would be a widget. This paragraph over here, that's describing what widgets are, that would also be another widget. And even in fact, the whole screen would be a widget. So you can think of a widget as anything that you will see on the screen of your app. So yeah, so let me continue. In fact, here's an example of SMS that I hope we're all familiar with. So you can see this title here with the school logo, University of Nairobi. This could be a widget. This title over here, this navbar, this could also be another widget. This e-ballot system, all this part, this could be another widget. And of course, the whole thing is just one big widget. So I hope that's okay. You don't have any questions? Okay, I think we're all good. Okay. So for more complicated example, let's look at YouTube. Even YouTube with a page that looks this complicated, we can still divide it into widgets. So you can see this bar at the top. This could be one big widget. This part on the side, this is another widget. These categories over here, that's a widget. This whole section with the videos, this is one big widget. It's made up of each of these which you can think of as smaller widgets. So this is just showing that no matter how complicated of the thing you're trying to build, you can always break it down into widgets. That's normally the first thing you do. If you want to make a Flutter app, you look at it, break it down into widgets. You need to break that widget down more. You continue and continue until now you have the simplest, let's say, product or simplest element on the screen. So let me continue. So in Flutter, I'd say we have largely 3 types of widgets. Are those widgets that actually are the things you see on the screen. For example, oops, I didn't want to do that. For example, all this text over here, this was made from a text widget. All these images is an image widget. So there's that first type of widget. We also have widgets that arrange the things on the screen. So as you see over here, see how all of these buttons have been arranged in a column. That it looks like that because we put all of these buttons into a column widget. So there's a widget that arranges things in a column. There's a widget that arranges things in a row. So you can see here, you can see all these elements are in the same row. So there's a widget that did that. And even this this bit over here, you can see it's a grid. So there's also another widget that you've used to tell the things that are inside it to arrange themselves like this. So those type of widgets, we call them layout widgets. And then finally, the widgets that we use to put spaces between things. Even this this dark color of YouTube, there's a color widget. So we've passed in that color widget to this whole thing, make it have that color. Basically, as I said before, if you want to do something in Flutter, it's always going to be a widget. So it's not only the things that you see on the screen. So even how we arrange items, the colors of items, the spacing, we also use widgets to define that. Yeah. So here's some examples of the widgets that display something on the screen. We have the text that I had showed you before. So it displays this text. Image widget is used for placing images. There is elevated button for buttons, and form, which is used to display forms. So form would be something like here. This is an example of a form. So we'd use, in this case, the form widget. You can use it to create that. So there are more widgets in Flutter, and you can see them if you go to that URL. So I can just send in chat. Okay. So again, layout widgets is the row that I had showed you. Normally use it when you want to put things. You want to put things in a line, in a horizontal line, I guess. Basically, you want to make a row of things. So you use that row widget. If you want now a column like here, we use a column widget. List views, we want something that's scrollable. So normally in YouTube, you can, okay, this is just a photo, you will not see it nicely, but you can normally scroll down, see more videos. So in that case, we use a list view. But for now, you don't need to cram all of these widgets. They're all in this link. So typically, if you want to arrange something in a specific way, you could go to this link and see what's there. And when you go there, it also describes what it does. So you don't need to be worried about cramming all of these things. Normally know them naturally as you get to use them. So there's also grid view. So what was used to place items in the grid in our YouTube example, and container, which if you have experience with web, similar to a div, but what it does, it basically groups together related widgets. So over here, could wrap this bit in a container, because all of this image widget, this text over here, it's all one thing. It's all a video suggestion. So you could wrap it in a container. That's what container is used to do. And then finally, the last type of widget is color padding to give padding. If you want to center things, use a center widget. If you want to align things, so maybe you want to put something at the top right of the screen, or the top left, or bottom right, or bottom left, you use the align widget. So yeah, I think that's enough of theory. Can try getting our hands dirty with an example. So let's first see what app Flutter generated for us automatically. So normally, if you want to run an app in Flutter, make sure you're at the main.dat file. At the bottom left over here, you can see devices. So just say this allows you to choose which device you want to run the app on. So for me, I want to run it on this phone over here. Just come to run, press run without debugging. So as this runs, maybe if you're curious about how I have a phone on my computer, again, you can go to Android Studio. Normally, Android Studio is used for a lot of things. If you want to make mobile apps, so you go to Android Studio, it sees something called Device Manager. So you'd click that. Yeah, click that. Let us see. You can, click this create a device. And now this gives you a list of all the phones you can download on your machine. So for me, normally I would describe not downloading a phone that's too powerful, because it'll be running on your machine. So something like a Pixel 6, because that's like it's a good phone, maybe a bit hard to run on a computer. So you just scroll down and look for a phone that isn't that that wouldn't be that intensive on your machine. Because at the end of the day, you just want a phone that you can use to display what your app is doing. So it doesn't have to be CG a Samsung S23 or what. It can be anything. So you click on that and you'd follow those instructions. Because I already have a phone, I don't need to do that. Okay, let's give it some time. Close that, close this. Oh, but here is the app. It came over here. Okay, so here is the app that Flutter creates for us. This is the nini. When you click that application thing, this is what Flutter makes for us. But if you guys have any suggestions of an app, it's in a question. Would like a series of coding sessions to build an app from scratch to production. That would be nice. Yeah. So I'm planning for this Flutter series to take us through all the steps of creating an app from scratch to production. So hopefully if this one does well, we can make another session. Do you need Android Studio to get the phone on your machine? At least for me, whenever I try making a virtual phone, it's easiest to do it with Android Studio. I'm not sure how else you do it if you don't have Android Studio. Oh yeah, Ruben is right. You don't have to install a virtual device. I was only doing that because I want to show what I'm doing. So I can run it on your phone. So you go to your phone, go to the settings. I believe you click the Android version like 7 times, and that will turn on developer options. So like side loading. Oh, what do you mean by side loading? But yeah, basically you can run your app. You can run the app on your phone. You just need to turn on developer settings. So loading the Flutter app onto your phone, then running it. Yeah, I guess it's like that. So yeah. So I don't know if you guys have you can also use and just have a suggestion or something that you'd like to see me make for the demo. If you do, we could just try doing that. Okay, do a nice calculator. Yeah, I could do a calculator, but like the iPhone one, a list of items vertically. Let me see how the iPhone calculator, like contact cards. Okay, yeah, I can try doing contact cards. So yeah, let's do that. So first thing we can do, you can just delete all that code that it's given us. So if you want to make a Flutter app, normally need to import Flutter. So now in Flutter, there's something called material, which makes your app look like an Android app. I believe there's also Cupertino. If you want your app to look like an iOS app, like an app on iPhone. So now you can just do material. Got that. So now we've imported some helpful widgets that the material team has made for us. And in a similar way to C, in the main.dat file, we need a main function. This is the entry point. So this is where when our app is running, it will go here. So command to run an app is run app, and the argument it takes is a widget. And this widget is what's going to be, this widget is basically your whole app. It'll be on top of everything that you've made in your app. So let me call it my app. Let's make it right now. Okay. So widgets are normally classes, and for now we will later on. I think as you saw me typing, you saw something called stateful widget. We won't look at that now, but later on, we're going to see what that is exactly. So widgets are normally classes, and if you don't know what a class is, it's basically a bunch of functions that are being grouped together for lack of a better explanation. So we write the constructor, and now this is let me just write it first. So every widget has a function called build, and this function called build is now what it defines what we're going to be seeing on our screen. So we just pause there a bit, see if we have any. Do you have any questions about what I've done so far? What is the point of at override? So now this stateless, let me go back. So this my app class we're making, it inherits the stateless widget class. And the stateless widget class defines a function called build, an abstract function. So I don't know if you guys have done object-oriented programming, but if you haven't, basically means that there's a programmer, the programmer who wrote what stateless widget is, he made a function called build, but he left the, let me say it's like he left the definition of the function empty. And so that the guys who are going to use it can define what they want to happen when you run it. So at override is just saying that, hey, this build function is abstract, and we're writing the definition. So I don't know if that was clear. Okay, nice. So are there any other questions? Okay, good. We continue. So normally when we're making an app in Flutter, we wrap it in this thing called material app. So what material app is, it's basically, let's say it. Basically, it does a lot of things for us. Like in terms of the app background, where our things are going to be displayed on top of. So normally it's not a must to do it, but it's advisable if you do it, because it does a lot of things for us. It even defines general structure of an app, whatever. So let us do that. So I have this thing called a scaffold, which I think I could even show you how this app will look like without a scaffold. Let me first show you. Let's make the traditional hello world, mandatory hello world app every programmer needs to do. We don't do this, not really a program. Okay, let me start. Okay, I should have just closed it from here. Okay, well, I don't know if you guys can see it, but you can see hello world at the top over there. But now because it's at the top left, you guys can't really see much of it. So now this is where our widget, that's where our layout widget comes in. If you want to display this hello world at the center of the screen, the Flutter way to do it would be to use this center widget. We would say, hey, center, I want you to center this thing. And the thing that you want center to put in the middle is what we give here. So what we define in this child parameter. So this is just saying, hey, center, I want you to put this text hello world widget at the center of the page. So now we can say that. And if we go to our app, you can see it's come to the center. So now what scaffold is this white this white background over here. So let me remove scaffold so that you guys can see how it looks like if I don't have it. So in VS Code, one of the reasons why we installed that Flutter and that extension is because it gives us some helpful shortcuts. So for example, I want to remove this scaffold. One way to do it would be to highlight what I want to keep, cut it, delete scaffold, then paste it again. But a faster way to do it is to just left click on scaffold. You can go to this refactor, scroll down, where is it? Wrap widget, size box. Okay, normally there is a remove widget. Oh, okay, interesting. We can't do that for scaffold, but you can see what I mean. Normally this remove this widget is there, but we learn new things every day. Apparently you can't do that with a scaffold. So yeah, so let's see how this app looks like when I don't have scaffold. I don't have scaffold over there. See, it looks really fun. You don't if you see this, you'd be panicking. You'd be like, hey, what's going on? Why does this thing look so weird? No. So if your app looks like this, it's likely it's because you haven't put scaffold on top of it. So scaffold is on that puts that nice background that we're used to behind apps. So yeah, any questions so far? Can scaffold be styled? Yeah, scaffold can be styled. So let's say we want to change the background color. So what we do is this scaffold has a lot of parameters it can take. So the one that she normally give all the time is body. She's just saying, hey, scaffold, just put this on the page. But we have other parameters like, let me see, floating action button, which I guess I can. Okay, by the way, you're asking for styling, so that's not too relevant. But if you scroll down here, so you have something like background color. So you can say, hey, I want this scaffold to be, I don't know, amber, whatever this color is. So again, remember I said everything in Flutter is a widget. So you can even see when we're describing the color of the scaffold, we've passed in this color widget. And the reason it looks like the reason it's colors.amber accent is because okay, this colors class is abstract. It just means that if you want to create an instance of it, you can do this. But you can also pass in an RGB code. So you can do colors dot from color dot from, yeah. Can also give it RGB, ARGB, HSRB, whatever way to define a color. But for now, I'll just do that. We reload, and then also, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but every time I'm changing this app, each time I save the file, you'll see that it's updated. So this is a super helpful feature of Flutter. It's called hot reload. It basically means that you don't have to make the whole app from scratch every time you change something. Simply just save the file and it will reload and print those changes. So yeah, you can decorate the scaffold, you can give it a background color, so I've shown over there. Normally also, pretty sure you've seen that most apps have a keybar up there, so it's called app bar. So you can have an app bar and give it an app bar. Give it an app bar. Let me show you how this looks like. This is my app. Okay. So now if you get some red squiggly lines like this, it's no need to panic. You just hover over these red squiggly lines and you can read what VS Code is trying to tell you. So when it's saying the constructor being called isn't a const constructor. This might sound a bit complicated. What it means is that look at whatever thing was on top of app bar. So something that's on top of app bar, scaffold. Does it have the word const before it? It doesn't. So let's look on top of it again. You can see material app. Here is the const that's causing that issue. So you can delete it. Now you see those red errors that red error has gone away. So now if you see these blue lines, or sometimes they're yellow, it's not really an error. Your app will still run, but it's a warning. This is something that VS Code is saying, hey, this won't crash your app, but it'll be good if you just do what I'm saying. So here it's saying you can use const to improve the performance of your app. So you just write const in front. Same thing there. Just write const. So yeah. Oops, sorry, didn't save my changes. Save the file and you come back. You can see we have this app bar over here. And that app bar, the same thing. If you want to style it, you want to change how it looks, we have all of these arguments here that control how it looks. So let me just return the background color to what it was before. Can leave the scaffold. Okay. See there any other questions? Can scaffold be styled? Okay. Any other? Okay. What are the disadvantages of using const for all the widgets since it improves performance? Okay. I mean, using const, it's not a disadvantage to use const. It's normally good if you use const. So okay, don't need to know all these details. Normally the benefit of making your widget constant is that, say Flutter displays widgets in something called a widget tree. And every time you add a widget to that tree, the same way I've added text to my app, it adds an element to that tree. But now when you use const, Flutter only adds that widget once and then takes a reference to it. And every time you use that same widget, it doesn't have to create a whole new widget to add in the tree. It already knows how it looks like. So it spends less time adding to the tree, updating the tree if things changes. Yeah, it's normally where you can use const, it's normally advantageous. Thank you, Ruben. Okay, so now we have an app bar, we have some text, and you guys want to see some contact card. So let's jump straight into it. Let me see if I can find an image of a contact card we can use to, we can base this off of images. It's not the contact cards that we are looking for. Contact card, Android or something. Let's see. Let me turn off my VPN. Not doing any shady things right now. I don't need it. Okay. A nice example of a contact card. Let me see. Contact card, Google Contacts. to get an example so that I can show you how we normally break down things. I guess it could be like, I think this is what you guys wanted us to make. The contact card that you're talking about. Okay, something simpler than this. Okay. Let's go back to the drawing board. Contact card. Yeah. Can do this bit maybe. So let's try making this an individual one of this. Or can even try making this whole list over here, this whole section. So normally when you want to make something like that, a list of all those things, don't be scared by the complexity. Don't look at the whole thing at once, because you'll get scared and you won't be able to move forward. It's normally best if you look at the whole thing and break it down into whatever parts you can see. So example, in this whole key box over here, you can see that there's this title, written contacts 50. Underneath that title is all this other nonsense. So let's work with that. Let's move from the simpler things that we can quickly identify. Let me move forward. So now we still want everything to be in the center of the phone. So I'll leave the center widget there. But now we want to change what this center widget is centering. So now this is what we can do. So what we have here is this contacts title and a bunch of other stuff underneath it. So we can say, hey, I want a column, because you can first see this is a column of things. There's this title on top of this other stuff. So we can remember from the list of widgets, hey, if I want to arrange things like that, I need a column. So let's do that right now. Tell a Flutter, hey, I want some things arranged on top of each other. So give me a column, and the things that should be arranged on top of each other, we define them here. This children argument, give it the list of the things you want to be displayed on top of each other. So what you want to be displayed is text, and I think it was contacts 50. So yeah, we refresh. So look at our phone. Here it is. So you can see that, I mean, center doesn't really look like it's doing anything, is it? This contacts is still stuck at the top. So let's can try debugging. I don't know what the bug is, but normally if you have an issue like that, you can try thinking about, okay, how does center work? So what center does is that it looks at its parent widget, which in this case is scaffold, and tries putting its child widget, which in this case is this column, in the middle. So for our thing to look like this, it means one thing, that this column, for one reason or another, has decided that its height is going to be the height of the whole page. So that's why it looks like that. So what I can do to like demo that's happening, let's wrap this column with a container. So remember when I said container is, why is it giving me so many errors? Just another instance of container. Oh, sorry. We'll remove this error a bit later. Remember what I said, container is used to group related things. It's also nice when you want to see why the fuck shit ain't happening. Colors dot that. Okay, why is this still complaining? Constructor being called isn't a const, so same error we were having last time. We look at, okay, what's on top of container? Center. So our const is. Let's remove that. And VS Code is telling us, hey, some of these things should be constant. Let's make that change. Which we have. So now, if we look at, oops, where is, I've clicked the wrong place. Why is saved? Okay, reloaded. Okay, good. So what I've said is a container just be color yellow. And how container works is that if you don't give it a size, it will take the size of whatever child you've given it, which in this case is column. And now when you look over here, you'll see, hey, column is the size of the entire screen. This is not what we want. So now you're seeing why center is behaving weirdly like that. It's because columns are normally, I would say they're like they're greedy. They normally take all of the space that is available unless you tell it not to. Which in our case, we haven't told the column not to take all the space. It's taken all the space. So if you want the column not to take all the space, give it this specify this argument. It's called main axis size, and that again takes this, let's could say a widget, and this widget is just telling the column, hey, I want it to be the least size possible. So now hopefully everything has worked. We refresh. Our thing should actually be centered, which it is. So let's move. Now we're done with this container because we've seen where the error was, and we're confused about how I did that. Again, I left clicked container, went to refactor, and I pressed remove this widget. So yeah, so step 1 is done. I forgot to refresh. Step 1 is done. We have our contacts 50 line over there. So up to there, any questions, or we can move on? Think we can move on. So let's jump straight to it. So we go back to our reference, contacts 50, done. That one is on our screen. Now we have this pesky list of items. So how should we go about this? As I said, we go normal attack. We do the simplest thing first. After we've nailed the simplest thing, we can now make it a bit more complicated. So instead of looking at this entire list of items, let's just focus on one of these items. So when we look at one of these items, we see, hey, okay, this looks familiar. We have an image, we have some text, and we have some other text, and all of these seem to be in a row. So now that we know that, we can jump straight to it. Okay, let me come here. So now we know that our column has, so our page has this contacts 50, and for now we define one of the items that are under it, which is a row. So if we go back, allow me to do this image with the A a bit later. We'll look at that. So let's start with this name, Abel McLeod. Shouldn't be too hard. This is just text. So let me put that there. Text. Abel. That's not how you spell Abel. McLeod. After that text, we have something else. Look at that example. amacled@gmail.com. gmail.com. So now we have that. So you can look at what we have so far. Okay, almost looks good, but again we have a similar issue to what we had last time. So rows are similar to columns in that you don't tell it to take the least amount of space possible. It will also just take up the entire width of the screen. So now let's give this row a size. Let's tell this row A should only be this amount of space big or whatever. So if you want to do that, if you want to give an item a specific amount of space it should take, what we do is that we wrap it in a container. So we actually use our shortcut wrap with container, and this container we just give it a width. So width should be like don't know, 500 or something. You know, it's yelling at me. The evaluation of this constant. Oh, okay, it's same issue of const. Let's remove that. But let me not put any consts for now. Just put them at the end. Really complaining about it. So you said, hey, this row should only, the amount of space this row has to play with is 500 pixels. That's what we've done. So if you want to restrict the size of a widget, there are many ways to do it. One of the ways is to use a container. So let's look at it. I have not refreshed. Refresh, hopefully that's going to work. Refresh, let's see if, okay, it's no difference. So can wrap this, can give this container a call. Let's try and diagnose. Hey, given you a specific size, why aren't you listening to me? Let's save, see what it's doing. Still taking the whole width. Interesting. Let's see. Try reducing this. See if that makes any difference. Okay, that was too small for it. Let's try this. Damn. Shit. The width of this phone was 500 pixels. Okay. It's interesting to know. It was actually working. So now, normally when you're making apps, you wouldn't really know what the size of your user's phone is going to be. Could use a media query here. Do this. This just says query dot of context dot size dot width. Is that there? Oops. Dot of context size of it. So what this is this gets the details of whatever device is running your app. It gets its details, and this gets the width of your phone. This dot size dot width. This dot size gets the size of your phone, and this dot width gets the width of your phone. So we say, hey, I want this to be 3/4 of the size of my phone. I can try doing that. Let us see if, yeah. So that's we look at that in more detail in the future. So if you've not understood it, don't be worried about it. Something called responsiveness, and we'll tackle it later on in this series of videos. But yeah, so can now remove this color. Don't need it anymore. So we have, refresh. Oops. So we have the text and we have that. So let's see any questions so far. Hope you guys are still with me. Okay, we continue. So let's go back to our reference. So we have this text. But we don't have this circle with the letter A in it. So normally this would be an image, and you would have image stored somewhere, the URL of the image stored somewhere, and then you'd use the image widget to get that image and do your thing. But I don't have an image of the letter A. It's surrounded with purple color. So what we can do, this wouldn't be what you normally do, but just for now, because don't have that image with me. So an interesting thing about container is that you can specify its shape. So again, we want to change how a widget looks. Most of the time we have arguments that do that. And in the case of a container, if you want to decorate a container, give it this argument. It's argument of something called box decoration. Give it that argument. So this box decoration just has all of the styling details you want to give the container. You want the container to be blue, put it inside box decoration. In our case, you want the container to be purple. So let's do that. And again, our colors, everything in Flutter is a widget. So we have a colors widget that will say A, stuff will be color purple. And now we want A, this container, I want you to be a circle. So we have this shape property. And in case you've seen a parameter and you don't know, okay, what does this parameter take? Can hover over it and just scan a bit. And if we scan a bit, you can say the shape to fill the background color, if this box was then, okay, you can say, oh, something called box shape.circle. Most likely that's what we want. Because of hot reload and how nice it is, Flutter allows you to just experiment with things. So until you're sure about it, just write random code in your, just write random things, man, till you get what works. So let's see, do I have a circular purple thing on my screen? Do I not have that? Okay, we don't have a circular container on my screen. It is very odd. Perhaps it's because I didn't give this a size. Let's try giving this a size. See if that'll do anything. That return an error. Okay, it's turned an error saying overflowed by 100 pixels. This means in our container are too big. And just restart space. See that errors. Hey, what's happening? Okay. Why isn't this? Oh wait. Oh, so dumb. I'm giving this a child. It actually doesn't have anything inside it. Let's see that. Okay. Ooh, interesting. This looks a bit funky. So the text is bigger than the container itself. So let's just add this 100. See, that's gonna standard overflow. Okay, standard overflow. not want that. Okay, let's see. It's done. Okay, this text may be a bit too big. So again, event change, event text. You can change how text looks. Just give it, define a style property of text, text style, and this style property, for autocomplete can just allow me to put a space as a font size. Just put like 12 or something. Reduce this. 100 is too big. 700 is the worst. Okay, Flutter isn't yelling about us. By the way, if you look at my this debug console, you can see Flutter also prints out the error I was getting. So that's how you know that something was too big. If you get something like something overflowed, just know that content you're trying to fit in there was too big. So save it. Shit is still not working. The fuck? Why don't you want to work for me? Okay, let me see. Maybe this a height. Okay. This thing is just refusing to work with me. Let's see if it has any other. Just give it a width and height. Maybe that's going to help. Let's experiment. Let's see. It's going to. Okay, well, finally. Circle has shown up, but this text is still not inside it. So let me just ignore this. Let me remove this style. Okay, so it looks like today Flutter just doesn't want to be nice to me. So let's see. Remove the last widget for email. Can also use a circle can also use a circle avatar widget for a circle. Remove the last widget for email. Let me try using a circle avatar. So yeah, this is what happens in. Oh, I think I saw a question. Can you use the media query thing for the circle? Yeah, you can also use the media query thing for the circle. Maybe we can try using this media query thing. See what it gives us. So let me see, 0.4. And I don't know. No, this will be too big. And then this dot size also has height. We can also get the height and the width. But I don't want this thing to be of different sizes, so let me go back to 0.4. See, okay, it's yelled at us. This is to 0.2. Okay, so we can use a media query, but in our case that wasn't the issue. So we just use circle avatar. Circle avatar. Let's see, background color, and color is colors dot and purple. Let us see what other argument does this take. Child. Okay, let's see. Yeah, actually, yeah, Ruben, you are right. You just can you see the circle avatar? So yeah, sometimes in Flutter you see you're forcing issues and things aren't working. So the time is you just need to go online, just look for the widget that's designed for that purpose. So yeah, well, the more you use Flutter, the more you get to see the right widgets to use. Anyway, now we have all the content. We have the circle, we have the name, and we have the email. Now it just looks a bit weird. So this is where we can just add some styling. You can see that in between the image and this name, we have some small space there. And surprise, surprise, is a widget that can use to add space. Normally, if you want to just add space, you can use this widget called sized box. Let's give it a small value like 10. Just saying, hey, give me some like 10 widgets in between this stuff. When we look, you can see our 10, we will increase it to like 20. 10 wasn't enough. Yeah, increase it to like 20. Okay, yeah, we have 20 widgets between that, 20 pixels between that and that. So our space is there. And then now, one option is that we could also add a space between this and this. But it would be more accurate to say that we always want this text to be at the end of our row. That's how it is. And normally for rows, for both rows and columns, if you want something to take up all the remaining space, which is what we want this text to take all of the remaining space, come at the end, come here, wrap the thing that you want to take all the remaining space with this widget called expanded. So this widget is for rows and columns in particular. It tells the child to take all of the remaining space. And if you put multiple expandeds, like you wrap this, actually, let me just first show you how this would look. You save. Before I do that example, do that. So you can see the text has taken all the space, but we haven't told it to go to the end. So you can just align the text to the end. Oh, there. Yeah. So now you can see it's gone to the end. So what we did is we've given the text all the remaining space, and we told it, hey, push yourself to the end. So that's what expanded allows it to do. It allows it to take all the remaining space. And again, if you have multiple things that are wrapped with expanded, what happens is that it divides the space between them evenly. So now if we go here, you can see we told this Abel McLeod text take the same amount of space as the email. So that's why you can see the email looks a bit squished. So yeah, let me go back, remove this. It's not what we wanted. So done up to there. You have any questions? Okay, let me make the width times 0.9. Any other questions? Okay, take it that it's all okay. So yeah, if we go to up, you can see we have this contacts thing. It's over there. Could tell it to align itself at the start. So again, if you're ever curious about how you know what arguments widgets take, you just go to the documentation. It gives you a list of the arguments that it takes. Okay, I guess this text just had that space. It's okay. So we have that. If you notice here, we have many of these things. So one option is to just copy paste all of that code you've written and put it inside our column. But that's normally a really bad option, to just copy paste the code you've written. So what we can do is we can make another widget that holds this part. So let's do that right now. Let's create another widget. So contact tile or something. You might be seeing stateful widget coming up as I'm typing stateful, but don't be worried about that. We will soon see what that's about. Jet build context. Now we want all of this. Now we want, can even just cut it. Want our specific widget, this our own custom widget, to have this. And again, we can make it look a bit prettier, the formatting. So yeah, so now we've created our own widget. It has all of these things. When creating widgets, you can pass it arguments. So you can pass it an argument for that letter in the image. So this is how we pass argument. For passing a string argument, we just call it letter or something. The reason I'm defining it as final is because if you want your widget to be able to be constant, arguments need to be final. So let me define these arguments. String email. Then pass it over here. And then now, instead of these hard-coded values you've given, you can give the arguments. Text, I don't know, this was our name. So it's good to give your arguments this name so that you don't forget what you've called them. Yeah, now you can see, does this need a, okay. So now, as you can see, this container of ours, the only special thing it's doing is it's specifying the width of our content. And normally if you're just specifying the size of something, it's better to use sized box instead of container. So let me change that to sized box. So that's why it was complaining there. And this one can be a constant because we just given it a width of 20. So now we've created our custom widget. How do we add it here? So when you want to add it, you just call it. So even these widgets like text, someone sat down and wrote the code that it's using. And we just come, we give them arguments. So yeah, save, and all is well. It should look the same. Yeah. So that's how you create your own widgets. Normally, if you want your files to look a bit neater, you could move this whole part to another file and import it to the file that it's going to use. But yeah, so now if you wanted to add many of those contacts, you could just do this for now. For now, we'll just do this. So yeah, so just like that. It's not here. We have our list of contacts. You can see that they look a bit squished. So now one option is to add spacing in between all of them. But if we know that we always want space at the bottom, we can come to the definition and we can add it there. So how do we add space? Another way to think about it is how do we add padding? And for that, it's a padding widget. You can pass it padding. Padding now takes a padding argument that defines how much padding you want. So I want some, let's say 8 pixels at the top and bottom. So what I can do is do this. This edge insert.symmetric just means I want the same amount of space at the top and bottom. Yeah, that's what it means, and boom. So now we have our own, like a simple example how to make UIs in Flutter. So even if you wanted to make all of this, follow the same process, divide each part into, divide it into smaller and smaller things. So you just build and combine. Wherever you need to define your own widget, you define your own widget. Continue like that slowly, and you'll soon have a whole UI like this. So I don't know if you're having any questions. Okay, I don't know, has anyone recorded the session? Okay, I haven't been recording the session, but I've taken note of that, and the next sessions I'll be recording them. Yeah. Oh, you have? I think so. I don't know how. Is that way you can send it? Do I like give you my email? Send it to me. Let me send my email in chat. Yes, maybe Ruben, we can make like a YouTube channel for GDSC. Just post the video there. Yeah, I'll also send you the slides. So apart from that, any other questions, comments about how we should change how we're doing this introduction to Flutter? Okay. Take it that we are all good. Personally, there were a lot of new things. Thank you, Ruben. Yeah, normally Flutter could seem a bit hard to beginners, but as long as you stick to the basics, you know that everything is a widget. If you want to make something, just divide it into widgets. You'll be good. It's also just a practice thing. You can try practicing making small apps, UIs like YouTube or whatever. And as you practice, you'll be able to know, okay, what widget should I use here? Same way Ruben knew about circle avatar. So just practicing. Then also if you're trying to do something and you're really struggling with it, there's a good chance someone has already made a widget for it. You just have to search. So I should have put this into the slides. But there's this thing called pub.dev. So pub.dev basically just has a bunch of code the guys have already written for you. So let me see. I'll use it later. Maybe HTTP here. Let's go. Okay, material. You see, we'll use this for we want to make HTTP requests. doing this one for a table. Let me see. Yeah, if you wanted to display data in a table, but you don't want to make that whole widget yourself, you have it there. Basically, there are a bunch of widgets the guys have already made, and you just come here, you import. So if you're interested in table, click onto there. There's always this tab called installing. It shows you how to install. So just come to the terminal and add this. We'll go into more detail. We'll go in a later session. So yeah, this is just a lot of practice and it's going to stick. Yeah, so thank you guys for attending the session. It's been lovely having you, and hopefully soon we'll have our next session. Hope you guys look forward to it. Okay, bye guys. Oh, and Patrick, is it possible if you could send me your email as well? Just send it in the chat. Oh, oh, it's you, Rico. Oh, okay. So, thank you guys for attending the session.